So this game, I was playing against Kanich, and he won the dice roll, and I think you're going to enjoy this. I know that I definitely enjoyed playing it. I was completely on the back foot, pretty much from turn 2 on. And it started off with me having to mulligan. This hand was beautiful. If I could know what my next card is so frequently, you know, it's the case if I knew I could draw a forest, but no. So I keep this hand here, and the reason I keep it is that I was thinking I've got Winter Orb to slow him down. I've got Phantasmal Image to clone his Rafik, and or Psionic Blast to kill it. And I assumed that this would, you know, possibly work out for me, and I just didn't want to go down any further. I gain a new appreciation, though, for Phantasmal Image and Psionic Blast this game, the newest cards to the Edric deck. So, turn 1 I play Island, turn 2, and he plays turn 2 Trigon Predator. So the whole Winter Orb plan out the window until I can figure out a way to handle the Predator. So turn 2, instead, what I have to do is a horrible play. I have to clone his bird, making mine appear to be, which, you know, I'm here that a 7th ed foiled bird is pretty valuable. Too bad I can't just like take this copy and walk away from the game and call it good. Anyway, so he gets in for some damage, and he doesn't play Rafik. Now, the only reason I can see for him to not play Rafik is he has a play after combat. And if he doesn't make a play after combat, then that means Mystic Snake. And he makes no play. So, luckily, I draw some land, so I can play a little draw go with him. So he hits me for some more damage. That's fine. And end of turn, I decide first thing I'm going to do is search, just in case I'm wrong, and what he has is the Flash Bird. Oh, so I go for Snap, actually. Never mind, I take that back. Because if he has the Flash Bird here, who cares, right? So I go for Snap to clear the guy out so that I can make my Winter Orb good. And since it resolves successfully, I go ahead and... yeah, here's where I sack my Wooded Foothills, because I don't want to walk into the bird. If he does flash the bird in play, I'll just side blast it and we'll carry on. The one that says you can't search your library. Anyway, so then with that off the board, I go for a Snapcaster. So the goal here is I believe he has Mystic Snake. So what I want to do is get a Snapcaster down and then snap his bird back to his hand, and then from there he won't even have 2 blue. And if that happens, if that were to have happened, then on my turn I could safely play either Sword of Fire and Ice or Edric. More than likely I would have just played Edric and, well, I don't know. I don't know what I would have. Probably Edric and attack and draw a card, hoping to hit land. Because from there, he would have had to, on his turn he would have had to recast either the bird or the Trigon, or maybe both. Or his Rafik, but whatever he did, I would have been able to then Psy Blast and continue to pressure him. However, I had him read correctly. He has a Mystic Snake, and that's not how it's going to go down. So, luckily, again, I top deck another land, and I was strongly considering just slamming that Sword of Fire and Ice into play here, but I can't equip the bird with it, because the bird's an illusion, and so if it becomes targeted by anything, including equipment, it'll die. So I figured, alright, well, the best thing I can do is just play my commander here and say go. So he plays a Nature's Lore for a breeding pool and gets his Predator back down. So the whole thing with the Snap, like, it didn't really do much. Prevented a few points of damage, wasn't all that helpful. However, it bought me enough time to get the Psy Blast off. And I decided that since I top decked an Elf, I'm going to play Winter Orb, and we're going to play a little game of stalling. I'm going to recover using the bird on the Elf, and hopefully I'll get going first. The Predator cleared the way for Orb there, and mainly although the Snap didn't do that much, it did cause him to spend a counterspell and tap mana out when I needed him to. So Elves comes down, and then I'm worried about running my sword, which is really my best play, into a counterspell, so I go for a trinket to try to bait. It doesn't happen. He doesn't take the bait, so I get a Soul Ring to make it easier to just play the Sword of Fire and Ice. as you'll see, I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Yeah, plus 1 is 6 mana next turn. So what I anticipated doing was tapping and playing the Sword of Fire and Ice, equipping the Finhorn Elves, and then just sending all 3 creatures, or maybe just these 2 creatures, and then trying to trade off with the snake. But he has this, and what a beating that is when I have a Winter Orb in play. So now things get ugly for me. So I have to make the desperation play of Sword of Fire and Ice to just try to and just hope that it gets through, and it does manage to get through. So I put it on Trinket Mage and send, not Edric because I don't want to walk into a Condemn. And he trades off his bird for it, and I figured now he'd flash in his Rafik, but at least Rafik wouldn't be able to block Trinket Mage. And when he doesn't, I think, wow, I guess he's not familiar with his cards. He made a misplay here. But that isn't what's happening at all. This is Oblivion Stone. Oh, crap. And then he Farseeks. Now, normally, of course, I'm like, great, you're tapped out, I have a Winter Orb, but with the stupid Prophet, I'm not even going to get to draw any cards here. So, I send with just Trinket, hoping that he'll, let me have it. Of course not. Edric is removed, and I get to play my Jiraga top-decked Tree Speaker. And so now I have an empty hand against 4 cards in hand, Rafik, and more mana than I have. Oh, and Lightning Greaves, and it takes 8 to the face. So, 2 more hits from this and I'm dead. So what happens? Well, for one thing, I get a top deck Treachery and just stare at those Lightning Greaves in frustration, but by going after me with no blockers whatsoever, he's trading damage for cards, so it gives me a chance to get in this game. So I send in for a card, hoping to find something useful. I do not. And since there's no point in bluffing when I might later on regret not leveling this guy up, I go ahead and just level him up. And he Tidings. So now it's 7 cards. 7 mana, 7 cards. I am ahead on mana again, but what a beating. So, and if I get hit one more time, I'm dead. And he doesn't do me the favor of playing a creature to block, but I draw a Counterspell. So, I figure I'm going to send both guys, and all I have to do is draw a creature, and I can throw the creature in front of this, and then counter whatever he does if it's not a creature that I can take. And then we can repeat. He can send his Rafik in, and I'll kill him off. I'll kill off whatever, and we'll just repeat until I find a solution to this problem. But I don't draw a creature. So game over, right, man? I mean, I'm dead. I mean, what can I do? Well, I can start with Crucible and follow it up with a Sylvan Library. And thanks to Wooded Foothills, I have a chance. So he plays this, and I really don't know if I made the right call here. Stolen Identity. The thing is, I decide to counterspell it, but it's super risky because if he has white removal or blue bounce, I'm dead meat here. On the other hand, and if the Stolen Identity, if he encodes Rafik, I'm not planning on Rafik hitting me anymore this game, so encoding Rafik doesn't do anything for me. If he ciphers the Edric, then what I get to do is I get to, either way, like I could just Treachery the Edric, and it'll come to my side and then die because it's a legend, and that'll be that. So I really thought about just letting it go, but on the other hand, I was thinking that Treachery will probably prove more valuable and rare than a counterspell. Like, I have more chances of drawing counters than I do of drawing Theft, and I really kind of want to keep Theft for anything else that he might be able to get into play. So I counter this, and I take a huge risk here. And in hindsight, it probably really was the wrong play, but it pays out. I'm able to Arbor. And I now have the Arbor Crucible Infinite blocker for Rafik. well, infinite until he finds instant speed removal. But look at that, top deck! Oh yeah! And there's Gleeful Sabotage. So I thought about possibly conspiring this just to get around counter spells, but I wanted to know if he had one. So I pay life and go ahead and just cast it. And it resolves. Wonderfully resolves. So, with that out of the way, I go for Treachery. And I probably should have perhaps played... I really probably should have played Garrick instead. Because that way, if he had a... But I mean, I didn't really expect him to have a counterspell here. He does. So if I had played Garrick and he would have countered it, then I would have had 3 mana left, and I could have just cloned his Rafik, and that would have been a much stronger position for me to be in. If you notice, I haven't played a land yet, so I have to play Wooded Foothills here, and I decide not to play the Arbor. I take another risk because he didn't have white removal last turn or blue bounce, so I have to presume that he doesn't have any in his hand, and then just hope he doesn't top deck it. So I go for Metamorph, paying life, and clone his Rafik so that I can draw 2 cards this turn. And then I've got a Trumper. But I'm all tapped out. And my trump block is not my Arbor, it's an invested card. But so it goes. And he has Jite. Clamp. Smash. Unfortunately, my guy will die before from the first strike, so he doesn't get to double strike my guy and get twice the counters on Jite, because I would definitely lose that game. And then even more fortunate for me, he starts to make a play and then changes his mind. At this point, he's all in. He needs to just kill the Edric, but he doesn't. A huge, huge error there. Because now, with only 1 counter, Sower's free to do its work. And look at this. He what did he do? Whatchamacallit, the one that puts a card back in at the bottom of your deck. Crumple? He spell crumpled my Treachery. And then I shuffled, remember, with the Wooded Foothills, and I shuffled the Treachery 3rd from the top with Sylvan Library out, and I get my Treachery right back to my hand. Not only that, but I have Scrib Ranger, who's super important, has Pro Blue, and is able to block Rafik indefinitely. So I can't imagine like what he was feeling at this time. So carefully tapping my mana, since I know that if this resolves, I'm not going to be using Homeward Path. I snag his guy, and then now that I have a double striking Edric, send my commander in and pick up the Scrib and a Spiketail, and he's down to 2 cards in hand now. A Jite with only 1 counter on it. So the misplay by Jite with his Jite there was huge. Although, I mean, I suppose it probably wouldn't have mattered too much, since I wouldn't have drawn these 2 cards, but I would have drawn the Treachery. So I guess it would have been okay. But so Arbor pops back out. Garrick hits the board. Spiketail comes down. I untap my lands there, and then I go ahead and just level up Tree Speaker and debate leveling him up further. I'm not going to play the Scrib. It's an instant. I can hold it. I'll save it. And I figured on the off chance that he has like mass removal of some sort, I really wanted like a backup play. And I know it would die to Jite, but if he massed and I played the Scrib and then he takes his last counter off the Jite, then I don't have to worry about him playing like well, his bird's dead, but I don't have to worry about him having the option to kill any of my things before he actually attacks. Like at that point, like Arbor becomes a valid blocker for a turn again. So look at this guy. Turns out he does. So I try to get him to misplay. I try to force spike it with Hatchling, and he pays the 1 mana. But I have a nice little chuckle because of course that doesn't do anything. But it did cost him a mana. And so he doesn't have enough mana to clamp. I guess that really would unimportant though. So I get Scrib to block Madomi. Of course, he sees this and decides that he needs to Jite right now, and that is okay with me. So I'm trying to avoid going to 4 because I'd like to be able to pay life if I need to. On the other hand, I don't want to be at 1 because I'd like to be able to force a will if I need to. So I also am trying to keep in mind that I might want to regrow Psionic Blast at some point. So I'm really trying to manage, my life total. And I go ahead and just untap the vault with that in mind. I've also got the Garrick here. And I see this, and I probably shouldn't have put the Brainstorm. I probably shouldn't have done it the way I did it. But I go this route, play my Arbor, Brainstorm up, untap, Brainstorm up, and then put back. There was nothing better, one more card deep. And I'm going to go ahead and move his commander and mine over here. So I set myself up this way so that I can play Sower, and if I have to, I'll tap the vault. I'll retap the vault and cast Unified Will. But I now have, look at this, a counterspell. He has an empty hand. I have Madomai, the I'm gonna kick your butt with it card, and Edric. So if I get to play my commander and attack, I get to draw 3. I get to draw 3, produce a beast, take another turn, attack with 5 creatures and draw 5. Totally game over. Not counting, what Sylvan does. And he reaches over to the top of his deck and plucks a Glenelender right off the top like a champ. But it doesn't matter because I got a counterspell. 15 turns later, backpedaling the entire game, and the Edric deck still just can't seem to be beat. I won't say I've never lost a game. I did, in fact, lose a game earlier, although it was a best of 3, so I was okay with that. But you can see how hard you have to work, and it definitely has some serious resiliency. So I do hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed recording it, and I always appreciate when people watch these games. Thank you. I'll see you next time.